Hello, and welcome to our online webinar on the MBA admission and application process. My name is Anna Patterson, and I'll be happy to be walking you through this webinar. Today, we'll be hearing from the expert in this area, namely Alexander Damev.
Hi everyone, welcome.
So the way today's webinar works is that we're going to have a short presentation here for you, a few slides to give you an overview of the application process, as well as a few tips that Alexander has prepared for you. And if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat box. I see that a lot of you have also added where you're from today. This is great to hear. We're such a diverse group. And if you have questions, I'll be asking these questions to Alexander after today's presentation. So make note of that. And yeah, stay tuned. I'll be back.
Okay. Thank you, Anna. Let me jump in right here. Also, welcome from my side. It's great that you found time in your busy schedules and you're sacrificing your lunch break to find out more about how to apply for our MBA programs. Before I give you the tips and tricks on how to apply, just let me help you with your decision making process. Just let me give you a couple of good reasons why you should definitely consider applying for our MBA program. Now, first of all, when you look for an MBA program, you want to make sure that you get excellent quality, that you get a recognized degree, which will last for a long time and remain an added value to your profile. Now, doing an MBA program at the Executive Academy really puts you, in our perspective, in a very good company. You will get an MBA degree, which is ranked by the Financial Times ranking in the top 50, which is ranked by other rankings also, namely the QS Ember ranking. You will also get a triple accredited MBA program, which is pretty important when it comes to the quality of the degree. These accreditation companies audit our MBA programs, and they make sure that standards are followed, which are recognized on an international level. Now, having all those three accreditations for the MBA programs puts you in the top 1% of the business schools worldwide. So we think that this is a pretty good company to be in with the MBA program. Number one, so this first reason to some, I would say, some more fact-based reasons for the MBA. Second of all, you want to, when you do an MBA program at your stage of the career, you want to make sure that you get an international experience, an international-oriented program. So it will be important to have a lot of international students in the program. We are happy to have quite a significant amount of international students in the MBA programs overall. We're talking about some 70% here ratio in terms of international students coming from a lot of countries and a lot of backgrounds, professional backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, and so on. Of course, you want to also have the international exposure when it comes to the setup of the program. We have international residencies in almost all our MBA programs. So with every MBA program you choose, you will not only study here in Vienna on campus, but get an international exposure while traveling to another country and having lectures there and company visits and getting to know other markets. We are also happy to be able to draw a lot of international professors and faculty members to our MBA programs, giving you again a very international taste of teaching here. And last but not least, you have a very international community of alumni and students. We have crossed the 4,000 alumni members mark, and we're talking about more than 85 countries where our alumni not only come from, but also live and work. And last but not least, doing an MBA program, a part-time MBA program next to your busy job needs to be a very effective learning style You want to be able to transfer what you have learned very quickly to your daily business environment. So making sure that you have a proper knowledge transfer from the MBA program to your daily job, where you can implement what you have learned. So we pride ourselves to have a very hands-on setting with a very strong impact on your daily work, and hence giving you a strong return, this time on the more learning perspective, when it comes to what you invest into the MBA program. So you want to make sure that you get a lot of content and knowledge back very quickly. Now, how does the admission criteria work? We believe that we have a pretty straightforward admission process. First of all, what are we looking for? So what is the profile we are looking for, and what criteria do students or candidates which they should fulfill when they apply to the MBA? So we're talking here to candidates with an ambition and a drive to learn, to develop, but also people should be able to commit to such a program. So hence making sure that they allocate time to study and to attend classes, and also being open to work and learn from other cultures and from other backgrounds. So all of that. So this profile basically would be a great profile for a candidate for an MBA program. Then we have some specific admission criteria for each of the programs. For all the master's programs, so whether it would be an MBA program or a Master of Legal Studies or a Master of Business Law, first prerequisite is to have a diploma or a bachelor or master's degree. So the minimum would here be a bachelor's degree, since we're talking about a postgraduate program. For the Global Executive MBA, we require at least 5 years of relevant work experience. With relevant, we mean management and leadership work experience. For the Professional MBA, here the minimum is 3 years of work experience. Again, some management experience of some sort. For the Master of Legal Studies, no law degree is necessary. But students need to have, again, a minimum amount of work experience. And for the Master of Business Law, since this is a program where we target candidates with a law degree here, the minimum degree would be a law degree, and again, work experience. You see that the work experience is consistent, so we require work experience for all our programs we provide. Again, reflecting this aspect of learning from each other, the peer learning, learning not only from the faculty, but also from the students sitting next to you. So each one of the students is usually an expert in his or her field, and this is where a lot of peer learning takes place during the program. What can you do before you apply? Usually, looking for an MBA program, researching for an MBA program, making the decision for applying to an MBA program has a couple of steps. You want to make sure that you get to know the program. You want to make sure that you know what you apply for. This is where we can provide some services on how you can make sure that you learn about our program. So, for instance, you can visit an event. We have events next to our MBA classes on a regular basis. This can be learning events, community events. We organize events for our students or for alumni. And this is where we invite selected prospects for the MBA programs, giving you a great opportunity to talk to not only students, but also alumni, people from the staff, from the Executive Academy. Hence, again, getting a feeling of the people and getting to know us better. Then you can also talk directly to alumni. I would like to extend this. You can also talk to students. So that's pretty much the same process for us. So to get an insight on their experience, how did they experience their MBA journey? What were their highlights? What were the challenges? How did it work? How did the travel arrangements work? Stuff like this. All these experiences from the students. We are happy to provide you with contacts to alumni. Just get in touch with us, and we'd be happy to connect you. What else can you do? You can most obviously visit the class. I would call this the test drive. So to make a more basic comparison, you wouldn't buy a car without doing a test drive around the block at least once. So it's quite similar to the MBA program. This is an experience you're gonna embark if you apply, and it's good to get a feeling on how this looks like. How is the class setting? Who are the students sitting in the class? How are the discussions going on? How is it moderated? Which cases do they work on? And these modules we organize for the MBA, or within the MBA programs, these 4 or 6 days modules, you have the opportunity to join a half-day session. So, for instance, from the start in the morning until lunch break, and with this having a taste on how the class feeling looks like. And of course, it's important to compare the programs. So which is the program which fits best to your profile, to your background, but also which fits best to what you want to achieve with the MBA program. So usually the MBA program is a tool set with a specific goal. So you start an MBA, you want to achieve a goal. This can be, so the motivations can be various. You want to advance in your career, you want to step out of your industry and go to another industry, or you want to specialize in a certain field. So to talk about these motivations is important. So we are here to be your sparring partners and assisting you with advice on which program to choose out of the Executive Academy portfolio. So having a close look at the programs, at the curriculum, talk to alumni, visit a class or an event, all these are tools where you can sharpen your decision and then make an educated decision on which program to apply for. If you want to receive a feedback, as I mentioned, or simply want to talk to us about your decision process, you want to get a feedback on your profile, on which MBA would fit best, send us your CV or your LinkedIn profile, get in touch with us, and we'd be happy to arrange a meeting, personal or a phone call, where we can have an extended discussion on all these issues, on your questions. So the better you're informed, the better your decision will be, and also the better the experience will be while you go through the MBA program. Now, how does the process look like? I mentioned, in our opinion, a pretty straightforward process, 4 steps. First step is the application, the online application, which you do on our website, shown on this slide. That's just a screenshot on the online application form. This is how it starts. So we asked you for some information about yourself. It's a questionnaire, an online questionnaire. You're guided through this questionnaire by the system. And once you have submitted or you have completed the form, you will be asked to submit your supporting documents. Here is the list on the slide. You can find this list, of course, on our website, executiveacademy.at/application. So that's your checklist for the application with all the documents you need, and the CV, a letter of motivation, recommendation letters, copies of your diploma, and a couple of other documents which are needed. If you apply for a scholarship, then we ask you for some additional information about your financial situation, if you will. Now, you have completed the online application, you have submitted your supporting documents, you have received your recommendation letters, So you have submitted the whole package. What happens next is that the program managers from the respective program will have a first check on your documents, whether there are any questions or anything is missing. So they will get in touch with you very shortly after the application has been submitted. And if everything is in order, which usually is the case, then we will invite you to an admission interview, which is here on campus, where we have not only the interview itself, where we talk about your motivation and how you fit the MBA into your schedule, what's the goal with the MBA, but there will be also an assessment where you work on a case study. And all these happens here on campus with the respective academic director and members of the program management. And after the interview, you have the decision. There can be different decisions after the interview. So you can either be waitlisted, you can of course be admitted. The admission can be denied if certain criteria are not met. It can be also a decision that we advise you to do the MBA at a later stage of your career. These are the possible decisions after the interview. And should you be admitted, which we hope, then you will receive some paperwork. So there needs to be some document need to be signed. And then you will be asked to pay a confirmation fee, which is basically the seat confirmation fee, where you reserve your seat in the program. This is usually a 10% down payment. And then already we get you started for the program. We will provide you with first information about student life, preparation documents, and so on. So make you familiar with the MBA, which lays ahead of you. Anna mentioned some tips and tricks for you for your application. There is a colleague of mine, she's program manager for the E&I program. What she says is that you should definitely make sure that you discuss your intention to do an MBA with your family and employer. Why is that so important? First of all, the family, you will need their support. You will have to sacrifice some time for the MBA. You will have to study during weekends or during the week, depending on how you manage your learning timing. So they will definitely feel that you are busy with the MBA, hence you will need their support. And also your employer, because not only you need a recommendation letter from your employer, but also most probably they will feel that you do the MBA. You will need to take days off, a couple of days, not too many, but you will need to take days off for attending modules, so it definitely will have an impact on your daily work. So it's crucial to involve family and employer in your plans for doing an MBA. Another trick or tip for the admission. Well, of course, an admission interview is somehow a moment of a certain pressure, I would say, or stress. However, there is no reason to be nervous. The most important is be straight, be yourself, be honest on what you know, but also on what you don't know. Be honest on your knowledge gaps. Be honest on the goals you want to achieve. So the more open the discussion is, the better it will be for all the sides, for both sides, because we will get a very authentic impression of you as a person, but also you will have a better impression of us as a provider for the MBA program. That's I think all for now. Thanks a lot for your attention, and we'd be happy to answer some questions now. In any case, I'm happy to have a follow-up discussion with you if you need any more specific information or you would like to discuss certain topics. Feel free to reach out anytime. I'm happy to connect with you. Anna.
Yeah, hello again. I'm back. We have a few questions coming in already from our participants. So I'd like to just start it off right
Sure.
away. Is it possible to do a class visit?
Yes, of course. So
Yes.
that's one of the tools to get to know the MBA better.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on which MBA program you're looking at, the best would be to either get in touch with me directly or with the program manager for the MBA program,
Mm-hmm.
and they'd be happy to arrange a class visit for you. As I mentioned,
Okay.
these visits are usually for a half-day session, so either in the morning until lunch break or from lunch break until the end of the module or the end of the day.
Okay, so based on the schedule of the interested person, they could pick either morning or afternoon.
Precisely.
Super. Okay. And so we covered the steps for the application process and some of the documents. And I wanted to just make sure if it was correct what I heard. We don't require a TOEFL test for English proficiency, nor is there a Gmat required. Is that correct?
This is correct.
Okay. Why?
Let me elaborate on
Yeah.
that. We don't require the TOEFL test for the English skills. Why? Because we have our own assessment, as I mentioned during the admission interview. So the case study will be obviously an English case study in English language, and you will have some preparation time to ask a couple of questions, to answer a couple of questions about this case, and then do a short presentation. So this is where we have I think, a good possibility to assess your English skills.
Okay.
In terms of the Gmat test, yes, we do not require the Gmat test for us. The profile of the candidate with the criteria I mentioned before are most important. And if a candidate does not have, for instance, a university degree, but I would say a lot of work experience, then we would be able to arrange another test. So we'll talk about this individually. But yeah, the Gmat test is not a requisite.
Okay. Well, that was an overview of the admission and application steps. I'd like to tag on though at the admission interview, you mentioned sometimes there is a case study.
Yeah.
And could you provide us an example with what kind of case
study? These studies are usually Harvard Business case studies, for instance, or other case studies from the professors directly. Mm-hmm. So, top of my head, I don't have. I wouldn't want to tell the case study specifically.
It might be in use still.
It might be in use still, but it will be a text, so usually I would say 2-3 pages about a certain business case, and then a couple of questions about how you would solve certain questions or challenges. There is not really a right or wrong answer at these case study words. It's more about to find out about your way of thinking, your way of argumenting, also in the short period of time, how you prepare your argumentation, and then how you basically argument your case. So this is more about to find out about how you think and how you argument.
More of like an assessment work that you're providing. All right. Well, let's say somebody is admitted to the MBA program and they're going to be paying the tuition fee. Mm-hmm. Is it possible to break down the tuition fee, let's say, in 5 installments?
It is. Mm-hmm. We have the down payment, and then we usually have another 3 installments. It makes it 4. You can increase the installments to 5. Mm-hmm. However, then the university will ask for a surcharge, which is, I think, 2% increase of the tuition fee, which is a couple of €100. So it can reduce the financial burden, hence spreading the payments. It adds a little bit on top of it if you do so, but it is possible.
But the first, let's say, 4 partial payments with the seat confirmation included are without any extra fees.
Precisely, yeah.
Okay, so it makes it a little more manageable then.
It does, yeah. You don't need to pay everything beforehand. Mm-hmm. You need to pay a 10% down payment, as I mentioned. If you live in Austria, for instance, you have great tax advantages when doing an education.
Great.
So you can work with tax returns.
Do you know how much this might be? Let's say for the professional MBA, a question came up. regarding tuition fee, how much somebody living in Austria might get back? Is it possible to give a rough estimate?
Well, depending on how much you earn, it can be up to 50% of the tuition fee.
And why is there such a difference in what you get back?
I think the best would be to ask a tax advisor
I think
regarding
it's a
that.
Tax bracket.
That's a tax issue. In Austria we have some tax classes, and depending on which tax class you are, then you have a respective statement. What I can tell you is that you can deduct a certain amount of money each year, and for that we can accommodate to that, so we can spread the payments over 2 or 3 years, allowing you to deduct taxes and save money.
Okay, great. Another keyword, save money. There is the early bird fee going on right now, correct?
Exactly, for the professional MBA.
Could you share on that?
We have the early bird going until end of March. So check out the website to find out more. And it's definitely, I would say, a sure shot on how to save money directly.
Yeah. And is it possible? I mean, March is a while away. We have before this the winter holidays, maybe then another vacation period. Can someone looking to get a decision a little bit sooner also apply and get the early bird rate?
Of course. Yeah, you can apply anytime.
So there's no fixed wait period then?
This is what you mean. No, you can apply for or start your application anytime. We have a rolling admission or a rolling application, so you can place your application whenever you are ready, and then we'll make sure to talk about the rest.
Great. Okay. And back to the fees, was including are the class visits and the international residencies, particularly these, included in the tuition fees?
So the program is included. So, or let me elaborate. The tuition fee covers everything you need for the program, which are all the learning materials, case studies, books you will receive, all the fees you need to be registered at the university. So we take care of all of this. What is not covered are travel and accommodation costs in general. So whenever travel is included, either it's you commuting to the modules, should you not live in Vienna, or traveling to the international residences. This is not covered by the tuition.
Okay, I mean, it might be a little bit hard to cover that too, considering we have people coming in from Russia and Brazil and others from Vienna.
Exactly.
It might make the fee a little bit hard to manage.
Exactly. So. We give an estimate, for instance, for the global executive MBA. If you live in Austria and you have 3 international residencies to South America, then to Asia, and then to the United States, out of our experience, maximum of 10,000 euros on top should do the job.
Okay, that's for the global executive MBA, which has 3 of these international trips. What about for the professional MBA? The English specializations take a trip often to Silicon Valley or the East Coast, visiting Harvard University. And how much would you estimate this might be?
It's hard to say. This is usually a 1-week trip. You need to cover, obviously, flight to San Francisco in that case, a round trip, and then 6 nights in a hotel. They're usually pretty expensive in the area, so I would count them between 200 and 300 euros per night. So you do the math. In terms of the flights, hard to say. Everyone has miles, packages, or bonus cards. Some have maybe agreements with their companies where they cover the fees for the flight costs. So it's hard to say how much a flight would cost in the end.
And then meals, I guess.
Meals are usually not covered.
Okay, so this is a rough estimate for a week.
Exactly.
Maybe around 2,000.
2,000-3,000.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's actually a good question to ask an alumni. So if you want to find out about that, so for instance, you want to talk to someone who lives in Vienna and has been traveling to the Silicon Valley with one of the MBA programs, this is, I think, a great question for them to get an idea.
And what about the schedule? I mean, people are trying to plan the next year. Do we have the schedule available for courses starting in 2020?
We will have shortly. If you would like to to find out more about the schedule, please get in touch with us. It's not published yet on the website. We do have the schedule for the business core for the professional MBA 2020.
Okay, so for the first half
for
of
the
the
first
MBA?
half of the
Okay.
MBA. This is going to be published very soon. If you would like to get an idea on how the schedule works and how the program is structured, you still find this year's schedules on the website. So usually, if you look, for instance, at the professional MBA finance, if you download the schedule for 2019, it will be most probably quite similar in 2020. So to get an idea on how the schedule is structured, that's a good possibility.
That's a good way to gauge the time investment in the MBA, let's say. And what about people who are looking to apply soon? Is it a requirement that they are, at the time of application, employed?
No. To be quite honest, no. If you bring in the work experience and you're currently in transition, for instance, I wouldn't say that this is a showstopper. However, make sure or consider that not being in a work environment while doing the MBA can give you an advantage when it comes to allocating time for studying.
Yeah.
True. On the other hand side, you will most probably not have so many opportunities to implement what you have learned. So the learning transfer, it sounds tricky, but while having to invest time on top of your job, it enhances the learning transfer while you do the MBA because you're constantly applying what you have learned in your job.
That makes sense. You get back to work with a list of to-dos that you can implement.
Exactly.
On the other hand, if you're managing life at home, you can also start a management plan and strategy.
Precisely, of course.
So
yeah.
Another question that comes in from our audience is regarding accommodation. For people flying into Vienna, is there support given to people looking for hotels in the campus area?
So if you're applying for an MBA program and you need support, yes, we do that. Our campus is located in an area where you find quite a few hotels and motels around the campus.
Okay.
We work with those institutions, and we get better rates for our students.
Does the university itself have any accommodations?
We do not.
Okay.
So it's not common in Austria to have accommodation on campus.
Okay. But like we said, we have some partnerships. So
make sure to get in touch, and we'll be happy to share that with you.
How much do these hotels roughly cost?
An average, I would say, between 70 and 90 euros a night.
Okay.
Depending on the hotel you choose, obviously. You can go for the Marriott, but you can also go for a more regular hotel or motel.
And I'm sure some people share living apartments.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that some students then, after the third or fourth module, they get together and they rent an Airbnb, for instance, and spend the time there.
Yeah, and it must be quite of a cultural experience to be in Vienna for those 4 to 10 days and really dive deep into Viennese culture, coffee house, and
exactly. Yeah.
So we invite you all to send any remaining questions you have. This is your time, of course, and we're happy to help. I already see that some people are typing in their questions. It's a great group today.
Yeah, it is. So keep them coming.
You mentioned earlier, Alex, there was a few days the students take off work from.
Yeah.
How many days in the Global Executive MBA do they have to take off work from?
They have to take up 2 days from each module, which makes roughly 50 days maximum.
Okay, so that's a
spread over a period of 16 months. So it's not within a year, but it's over a period of 16 months. The program lasts for 16 months. Okay. Usually, just to mention, our modules are structured in a way that we always use the weekends. So we always include the weekends in the class times. Usually modules start on Thursday morning until Sunday in the evening. You can expect to have an evening event at each module, so either on Thursday or Friday, either a guest speaker or an alumni event, a community event, or a learning event.
A lot of career events?
Also, as well, people want to work on their career as well, so we accommodate for that. So this is usually how the 4 days look like. Of course, students go and enjoy the city after the classes, but sometimes they also stay on campus for a couple of more hours to work on assignments or on their projects. You have to consider that some of them don't live in Vienna, so they commute to the module. So these are the 4 days where they meet, and they meet face to face, and they can work on their group works without having to use Skype, for instance. So.
And that makes a lot of things more convenient, I assume. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we have another question. How many students are usually in the group?
In the global Ember, we usually have between 35 and 45 students, depending on the year. Professional MBA, in total, with all the English specializations, you can count around 100 to 110 students. Of course, they're not in one class. We divide them in a couple of classes. So depending also then on the specialization, I would say around 20 to 30 students per specialization.
20 to 30 students per specialization. Exactly. That sounds like a nice ratio between the professor and the students.
Of course, yeah. So, and this is also part of the program. It's a selected group having a lot of interaction, not only in between the students, but also with the faculty. So making sure that the group has an overseeable size, you have a lot of interaction which is possible with the faculty.
Nice. Well,
and they are also at your disposition after the modules. You have their contacts. You can get some advice on your assignments. So it's a very personal, individual experience you have with the faculty.
Sounds good. It sounds like they're very approachable.
They are, and you also have a program manager from us, from the Executive Academy staff, who takes care of you basically while you are in the program, answering your questions, providing all the documents. If there are any issues, they are the person to talk to.
Okay, but the most immediate person to talk to, of course, if right after this info session you think, I had this one question, then please get in touch with Alex. You see his email up on the screen, and he's always around to answer your questions.
Sure.
And I'd like to thank you now at this point for your great questions. This always keeps it interesting.
Just the last round, are there any more questions from you at this stage? As Anna mentioned, we are happy to follow up anytime, but if now is a question you would like to ask, just
throw it in, otherwise we'll be closing. I'd also like to thank our IT support in the background, Stefan Singer, for making this event possible.
And also to you guys for preparing the slides. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So as we wrap up, I guess one more thing we promised when communicating this event was reminding people not only about tips and tricks for the application, but important deadlines to come up. So if you might think of the 2 most important deadlines to keep in mind, what would they be?
Okay, so 15th of December, we close the scholarship applications for the Global Executive MBA.
Okay.
The application deadline for the Global Executive MBA will be January 31st, 2020. So these are the 2 most immediate deadlines you should consider. And then, as we mentioned already, the early bird deadline for the Professional MBA, which is end of March.
Wonderful. Well, thanks so much for tuning in, and get in touch if you have any further questions.
Anytime. Thanks a lot.